All right. I think it's that time. So, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for Rotary International District 5150's Polio Summit. We hope you are healthy and doing well during this very unprecedented time. And we're grateful that even in this strange time, we can still come together virtually and celebrate safely with you, honor some of our polio heroes, and highlight some of the important work that is underway to eradicate polio around the globe. My name is Lainey Hendricks, and I have the honor of serving as your MC this afternoon. I am a member of the Rotary Club of San Francisco, and recently I have been working alongside a local public health department on the front lines for a different global pandemic, COVID-19. The experience has further increased my sincere appreciation and really greater awareness of the efforts that Rotarians, global partners, and public health officials have invested in the work to end polio. Now, I want to pause and acknowledge those that have taken the time to join us this afternoon. We have a pretty impressive roster, including a number of current and past trustees of the Rotary International Foundation. We also have our distinguished panel, which we'll be introducing to you in just a moment, a number of current and past district governors, and all of you who I hereby deem honorary ambassadors for the fight against polio. Polio was once the most feared disease in the United States in the early 1950s, before vaccines were readily available. And before that time, polio outbreaks caused more than 15,000 cases of paralysis each year. Once a vaccine was introduced, the number of polio cases fell rapidly to about 100 in the 1960s and fewer than 10 in the 1970s. The global effort to immunize the children of the world gained momentum in the 80s, and polio cases have decreased by over 99% since 1988. However, as long as a single child remains infected with the polio virus, children in all countries are at risk of contracting the disease. Today's Polio Summit is dedicated to furthering the awareness and the dedication toward this global effort. And we have a fantastic program for you this afternoon, so let's get started. If I were to sum up our first speaker in just 2 words, they would be passion and collaboration. Mary Marie Bates is known to be a connector and promoting collaborative relationships with community residents, groups, and businesses. A reputation of delivering high-quality community services in both municipal and nonprofit environments made Mary a natural candidate for the Rotary family, and she joined the Foster City Club in 2005. Since then, she's continued her passion for service, including multiple service trips to Mazatlan, Mexico, supporting the Yurok Indian Tribe Nation, and installing water filtration systems in Guatemala, among the many more volunteer efforts in and out of Rotary, too many to list right now. She's a generous financial supporter of the Rotary Foundation and has broadened her leadership beyond the Foster City area to touch District 5150 on many fronts, including taking the helm as our leader for the 2020-2021 term. Please welcome the Governor of Rotary District 5150, Mary Marie Bates.
Thank you so much for joining the Polio Summit. Here you're going to hear world-class panelists about their work with polio and our partners to eradicate polio. We need to end polio now. This evening, I'm sure you will be inspired to help end polio, and your generous donations are greatly appreciated. And please join me in this effort to end polio. So thank you everyone for joining us, and I'll turn the time back over to our MC, Lainey. Thank you, Lainey.
Why, thank you, Mary. And now we're going to hear from some of our very own survivors and warriors. Now, while the United States has been polio-free for more than 40 years, the effect of the disease can still be felt. Many of our local Rotarians and supporters have had firsthand experience with polio, our survivors. Likewise, we have a handful of warriors, people who may not have or may have had firsthand experience with the disease, but have invested time on the front lines to administer vaccinations and protect the children of the world. We want to thank those survivors and warriors with a special showcase because they are treasures to us. Now, the showcase doesn't necessarily cover all of our warriors and survivors, but it does give a sampling of District 5150's connection to and contribution toward the cause to end polio. Let's take a look.
Good evening, everyone. From the Rotary Club of Pacifica, my name is Dave Bertini, and I'm excited to be speaking to you tonight during this polio summit. And I want to urge all my fellow Rotarians, become a polio warrior. You can do so by giving to the Polio Plus Foundation or doing what I did, go on an NID. In 2018, I was lucky to travel to India and actually give the drops to over 2,000 children in my group. It was that trip that really changed my outlook on Polio Plus and the eradication of polio. We are this close to eradicating polio, and I would urge again, everyone, please do everything you can to assist us in this great endeavor. Thank you.
From the Rotary Club of Marin Evening,
I'm Gene Duffy,
I'm Jane Hulbert.
and in 1909, my father had polio. He was only 5 years old.
In 1949, my sister was stricken with polio. She also was only 5 years old. In 2019, we traveled to India to give the precious drops of the polio vaccine to children under the age of 5. It was a life-changing experience for us, knowing that these children would never be afflicted with the disabilities of polio.
Please walk with us, join us, and end polio now.
Seven of us in January 2019 from our Rotary Club had the wonderful opportunity to travel to India for a National Immunization Day we were able to give drops to these little small children and see their faces, especially the families' faces, the gratitude. And I saw firsthand the power of Rotary, and it really made me feel like a Rotarian. Please, let's all end polio now. Together, we can do it.
Awesome. Thank you for that great presentation. And even the United States Mint is supporting the idea of ending polio. If the Mint stops to recognize a cause, then you know it's important. And this special limited edition coin is something that you can order from the US Mint website as your own commemorative keepsake. And it honors Dr. Jonas Salk and, of course, his contributions to the invention of the 1953 polio vaccine, which played a major role in ending polio in many countries. Well, I'd like to move on to our next speaker, who is Brenda Cressy, trustee for the Rotary Foundation. Brenda joined Rotary in 1989 and served in a variety of roles at the local and international level. In 2018-19, she was honored to serve as the first female vice chair and later chair of the Rotary Foundation, and her current trustee term continues through next year, 2021. Most of Brenda's assignments have focused on successful fund development for the Rotary Foundation, specifically in the areas of peace and polio eradication. In fact, her passion is and always has been to see the end of polio. This is the very reason she joined Rotary. Having participated in several Rotary humanitarian projects around the world, Brenda has seen and experienced firsthand how gifts to the Rotary Foundation greatly impact the lives of others and will someday bring peace and understanding around the world. She and her husband, Dick, are very generous donors to the Rotary Foundation and have established the Brenda and Richard Cressy Endowment for Peace. And on a personal note, Brenda is a true friend to Rotary District 5150, always willing to support events or even help with the simplest questions. While she has lived and served in Southern California for the past 25 years, she recently relocated to Maine, and as I understand it, joined the same Rotary Club as Mike McGovern, who we're going to hear later from later on. So with that, I want to welcome our Rotary Foundation trustee and friend, Brenda Cressy.
Oh, thank you so much, Lainey. It's so great to be here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to each one of you for joining us tonight. And thank you also for our special guests and leaders. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I'm starting to get some feedback and I've been having trouble. How is this, Lainey? Okay?
Yeah, it's good. Just keep speaking up.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Many of you have just heard that I joined Rotary when I learned that the organization's #1 priority was to end polio, and how in growing up, I lost a very special friend. So the idea of no child ever contracting polio was especially meaningful to me. So tonight, I want to take this opportunity to thank an exciting achievement of an exceptional team. A team comprised of Rotarians and leaders from clubs and districts in our outstanding zones 26 and 27. The team leaders, as I call them, are made up of End Polio Now coordinators, Greg Owen and Bob Rogers, Endowment Major Gift Advisors, Tom User and Wynn Spiller, Regional Rotary Foundation coordinators, Kevin Padilla and Ken Howell, and our 4 major gift officers, Beth Garrow, Elizabeth Kruft Anderson, James Sewell, who is on the call tonight, and Eric Thompson. I really want to congratulate each one of you, and to all our district governor warriors who stepped up and transferred precious district designated funds at the encouragement of Rotary International President Holger Knott, and to all our polio champions those who made significant outright gifts to polio. This challenge came about by your own past district governor and current District Rotary Foundation Chair, Jane Hulbert. From your own district, you can be very, very proud of her, and of course her husband, Gene. They picked up on a similar effort by past District Governor Greg Owen and his wife Val just last year from 5320. This singular achievement was made possible by everyone involved. Without you and without your dedication and passion and thinking outside of the box, we are now this much closer to achieving our goals, even during a pandemic and this new virtual world we find ourselves in. So please know that these Rotary leaders and everyone who collaborated in every sense of the word began with an original goal of $1 million. Now that would be exceptional, right? Well, this includes outright gifts, transfers of district designated funds, the Gates match, and the World Fund match. Well, one day on a Zoom call, they realized that they might be able to do more. The momentum was already building, and on that day, they decided to set a lofty goal of $2 million, that combined goal with the matches. All of this they anticipated gathering for World Polio Day on October 24th. They set the goal. This evening, I am so pleased to report that they have even exceeded that goal. And together, as of yesterday, these two zones have raised over $2.5 million, and they still have 22 days to go before World Polio Day. This amazing accomplishment is wonderful, but what is so amazing is that 11% of this milestone came from gifts from this district. Congratulations to each one of you, and special thanks. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in raising that virtual glass in appreciation for this combined success. Thank you all for being such great Rotarians and leaders. Knowing each of you personally, I know you sincerely believe in the power of the Rotary Foundation. Thank you for challenging yourselves and reaching higher. My heartiest congratulations go to the best team in the world. Each of you, your senior leaders on this call tonight, and those who are not, sincerely appreciate your hard work and dedication. So congratulations everyone on this one initiative. It's an opportunity that brings us one step closer to protecting each child from this devastating disease, polio. You are the best. Thank you.
And thank you for those wonderful words, Brenda, and that exciting news. Truly, congratulations to all of you on this meeting that have given to that effort. Well, locally, District 5150 is excited to welcome another new initiative focused on gifts to support polio eradication. This effort will be co-chaired by Rotarians Jackie Bonner and Steve Wright. Jackie is a member and past president of the Rotary Club of Novato Sunrise, and within her club, Jackie is known as a fundraiser, having established and chaired several fundraising events for her club. She also spearheaded a microcredit project in Ecuador, where her relationship building skills were instrumental in funding the project and securing a global grant. Steve is a member and past president of the Rotary Club of Pacifica. Locally, we know Steve to be the guru of district conferences, bringing life to bold themes from world peace to boldly going where no Rotarian has gone before. Steve has helped shape the global grant effort and support a clean water project in Carmelita, Guatemala. We're excited that Steve and Jackie are bringing their fundraising fervor to help Rotary 5150 bolster its support of the Polio Plus campaign. And with that, I'd like to invite Steve Wright to talk a bit more about this new effort.
Good day to you. My name is Steve Wright. I'm with the Rotary Club of Pacifica, and I have the honor today of sharing with you a new program in Rotary District 5150 that is intended to help raise funds for the elimination of polio, because we obviously all want to end polio now. The program is called the Polio Plus Society. To become a member of the Polio Plus Society, it is a simple one-page form that we ask you to fill out. In the form, you commit to donate a minimum of $100 per year, continuing until the World Health Organization declares that polio within our world is eliminated. In return for committing to $100 per year, not only do you receive a certificate, we all like certificates, it'll have your name on it. You will also receive a bracelet that says End Polio Now. You will also receive, if you sign the commitment by October 24th, 2020, World Polio Day, you will also receive 100 points towards your Paul Harris Fellowship. In addition, the $100 commitment can be used for the road rally that is being held in our District 5150 on October 24th. And last, and certainly not most important, you will also get an End Polio, a Polio Plus Society pin. And we all know that Rotarians are always running short on pins. And finally, and far most importantly, by committing this $100 per year to the Polio Plus Society, you will have the personal satisfaction of knowing that you have helped end polio now, that you have helped prevent one more child from succumbing to this terrible disease. And I thank you very much for your interest in this program, and I hope to welcome each and every one of you as a new member of the Polio Plus Society. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Great news. And thank you, Steve, for that great introduction to the Polio Plus Society. Well, October 24th, as Steve mentioned, is World Polio Day, and it was established by Rotary International a little over a decade ago to commemorate the birth of Jonas Salk, who we mentioned earlier led the effort to develop a vaccine against polio. World Polio Day is also an occasion for global health experts and partners to celebrate important milestones, acknowledge existing challenges, and share our progress on the road to polio eradication. Locally, Rotary 5150 is providing individuals with a fun and safe way to celebrate and support our efforts to end polio now. And to talk more about this exciting event is Chrissy Kirby. Chrissy is a member and past president of the Rotary Club of SF Evening and chair of the Rotary Road Rally. Now, with over 20 years of experience as a nurse, disease prevention and treatment is very close to Chrissy's heart. And if you know her, she likes to have fun, a fine pairing for this event. So with that, I'm going to turn it on over to Chrissy to let us know more about the Road Rally.
Thank you, Lainey, and hello, everyone. And thank you for letting me talk today a little bit about the Rotary Road Rally to end polio now. So please join us all on World Polio Day, Saturday, October 24th, as we race to end polio. And what that means is the Rotary Road Rally is not your typical race. This is not a speed race. What we're doing today for this road rally is you're going to do a scavenger hunt in your own personal car. So that way we can all maintain precautions. You can ride with your own family, people that you normally live with, and do this safely. And what are you going to do? You're going to follow fun and educational clues, just like Lainey mentioned. And you're going to pick the county of your choice. You can either do San Francisco, Marin, or San Mateo counties. And for those of you that are not comfortable joining us in person, we're going to also offer a virtual option. So when is this road rally? When's it taking place? Well, from 8 a.m. to noon is going to be the actual race and event. Now, after that, you're going to get your box lunch, which is going to be provided by the Rotary Club of Foster City, along with your ice cream that is being provided by Roger Kaufman and Ben & Jerry's. And then you're going to tune in to Facebook Live, where you're going to hear some special remarks from District Governor Mary Bates, as well as hear the awards presentation. Yes, there will be prizes. So what do you need to do? You need to register for this event. And you can register for this event one of two ways. The easiest way is if you go to the Rotary District 5150 Facebook page, you will see the links there on the event, or you can go directly into Club Runner. Now, you see this cool flag logo behind me and also on the screen. So the first 300 participants that actually register, and that means one flag per vehicle, you're going to get this really cool flag that you're going to put on your car for the race day. So that checkered flag, normally, when you think of the meaning of a checkered flag, it signals the end of the race. And we all know that with polio, we're this close. So we really hope that you join us on World Polio Day, have some fun, and donate to TRF. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chrissy. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I've been keeping an eye on the comments in the chat, and it looks like there's some friendly banter about the race and awards part. So everybody sharpen your polio trivia and your local county trivia skills and get ready. All right, well, now it's time for our main highlight of tonight's event. Tonight, I am pleased to welcome a great lineup of global leaders determined to rid polio from the earth. And I'd like to introduce those now. Dr. Rebecca Martin is the director of the Center of Global Health at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Prior to this role, she oversaw the Global Immunization Division, which leads CDC's polio eradication efforts. In her current role, she leads CDC's global efforts to protect and improve health globally through science, policy, partnership, and evidence-based public health action. Mike McGovern is the current chair of the Rotary International Polio Plus Committee and represents Rotary on the Polio Strategy Committee of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. Mike is also past vice president of Rotary International, as well as past trustee and vice chair of the Rotary Foundation. Carol Pandak is director of Polio Plus, Rotary's global effort to eradicate polio, working in partnership with the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She has held this important role since 2000. Now, if you have any questions for our panelists, we want to encourage you to go ahead and use the chat function to type in your questions. We'll do our best to address questions as time allows, but I am going to go ahead and get started with a few questions for our panelists. And so the first question that may be on the minds of some is, why hasn't polio been eradicated after all of these years? So Dr. Rebecca or Carol, maybe this is a question best directed towards one of you.
So I'll jump in and then let Carol finish up as well, because there will probably be first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me into your homes this evening to be here with you. It is such an honor and pleasure to be here and to be in a partnership with such a strong collective power as Rotary brings to the partnership. I was just seeing the numbers that you have raised over $2 billion and immunized over 2.5 billion children through our Global Polio Eradication Initiative. And that is a testament to your collective power. So with that, I will say, and we've heard already tonight, we are this close, and we do need to leverage what we're seeing now with the response of countries in the world for COVID-19 pandemic. The past challenges that we faced continue in the countries of Afghanistan and Pakistan, the two countries we have not interrupted wild poliovirus transmission. They've never interrupted transmission. Remaining two countries, there are issues of insecurity where there's areas of conflict where besides just fighting the virus, we're having to make sure that we're bringing community along with us, that we're making sure people, every single person understands why this is important to make sure that we can and we stop that any child is paralyzed from poliovirus. We have to make sure that the governments of these countries have the ownership and commitment and bring their leadership so that they can stop and interrupt transmission of wild poliovirus. And this is the importance of, well, that we keep this polio eradication as an emergency. This is an emergency. We want to finish this job, and we are this close. Over the years, we've learned much about the virus, and every time we've had to innovate during outbreaks, we've brought science along. And the most pressing challenges today still will need to be addressed by looking at what we need to do with communities and to be responsive and adapt in real time to make changes. So with that, I'll stop and let Carol Addison as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I too would like to say good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me, and congratulations on the extraordinary fundraising success that you've had. Just extraordinary. And the commitment and the personal engagement of so many of you is just an inspiration for me. I would add, Rebecca said we need to bring communities along with us. You know, in Pakistan and Afghanistan, these are some of the most deprived communities in the world, and we need to bring other services to demonstrate that we care about polio, but we also care about their other concerns. So, for example, in Pakistan, our National Polio Plus Committee, under the leadership of Aziz Memon, is providing clean water in the highest risk areas for polio. And it's an important, clean water is important for polio. He holds health camps to address other health concerns that families have. So it's important to address not only polio, but also demonstrate to communities that you care about them, and to bring some other services that they so desperately need. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I know Aziz is going to send a bit of a message here a little bit later, but thank you for mentioning that work in Pakistan. So Carol, perhaps you can enlighten us a bit more on the specific role. You talked a little bit about what's happening in Pakistan, but what is Rotary doing in those other countries where we still have active polio virus? And then maybe talk a bit broadly as it relates to if there are any Rotary focused efforts in other countries that maybe have been polio free more recently.
Right. Well, you know, the world just celebrated a huge milestone, which was the certification of the Africa region being declared polio free of the wild polio virus. That's 47 countries now, additional countries that are certified polio free. So only Pakistan and Afghanistan continue to have transmission of the wild polio virus. But as was mentioned earlier, as long as the polio virus circulates anywhere, all children are at risk. And so you mentioned that, I believe. You know, even in polio free countries, they continue to do polio immunization campaigns. And our Rotary members in many countries in Africa are personally engaged in that effort. And just this year, we've undertaken a special effort for our Rotary members to advocate with government to do high quality campaigns in order to ensure that they maintain population immunity. And that's really going very well. So I'd say in the polio affected countries and even the polio free countries, the Rotary's main role is essentially fundraising, raising awareness in communities, and advocating with government the importance of prioritizing polio because we are so close to eradication and need to get over the finish line.
Excellent. And a follow-up question to that, and this comes from Dave in the chat. Thank you for that. It was mentioned now with the danger that exists for Rotarians. Are those national immunization days or those Rotarian-driven immunization efforts now off limits, and are we simply using proxies? How is that working?
Well, it's interesting. The Polio Oversight Board, which has members of all of the agencies involved in polio, took a very difficult decision to pause polio immunization campaigns so as not to contribute to the spread of the coronavirus. But essential functions continued, like disease surveillance and making sure that the vaccine was in place when we're able to resume. Well, the good news is that we resumed campaigns in July in both Pakistan and Afghanistan, but we're now providing personal protective equipment to frontline healthcare workers, practicing the social distancing, providing hand sanitizer, et cetera, face masks to keep not only the frontline healthcare workers safe, but also communities. So campaigns are slowly resuming across Africa, Asia, and in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. And Dr. Rebecca, I'm wondering if you can elaborate a bit on the CDC's role in terms of what it's doing currently, not only on the immunization front, but maybe touch a bit on surveillance.
Certainly. So CDC is one of the 6 core implementing partners in the global effort to eradicate polio, is using its science-based, data-driven information and collaboration to bring together our polio and scientific experts to work in partnerships. We work to make sure that we can define what the strategy should be to eradicate wild polio virus. Our labs serve as global reference laboratory, developing and manufacturing new testing technologies to be able to identify polio virus. We also work to evaluate the program performance of immunization campaigns, to look at the quality, how can we improve quality? For example, we recognized in Nigeria at one point the need to be able to do an analysis before the campaign was done, a checklist in fact, to make sure that each of the areas were ready to be able to conduct campaigns. Did they have enough vaccine, enough vaccinators to go around? Did they have enough supplies? And so these are important things that we have to make sure so that we can reach every child with vaccine. You mentioned the surveillance and laboratory, and surveillance is the basis of the work that is critical to be able to say whether virus transmission has been interrupted or not. If we are not able to do surveillance to find, and what we use for polio is looking for children or under the age of 15 with acute flaccid paralysis. And if they are identified, samples are collected and tested in a laboratory. The whole process of ensuring that there are disease detectives out there to be able to find people with acute flaccid paralysis, that specimens are collected, that the specimens are then sent to labs which are hundreds and thousands of kilometers away in some cases, and they get to a laboratory, they get tested within a certain time period, within 72 hours, and the results are then sent back for further investigation. All of this is so important so that we can say whether we have interrupted transmission of the virus or stopped an outbreak. The surveillance and laboratory are the backbone to be able to detect and to be able to respond to any cases of wild polio virus. So it is through the scientific and programmatic expertise, working closely with the World Health Organization, working closely with all of the partners in the communities, the importance of being able to do surveillance from the lowest level in communities and get those specimens tested in the laboratory and get results back for action so that we can stop transmission. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Very informative. Now, Mike, I want to turn to you. I understand that you have a presentation that you want to share with us on behalf of the work that's happening with Polio Plus.
Mike, you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Greetings, everyone. Wonderful to be with you all. I'm going to give you a little bit of the perspective of a Rotary volunteer. I've actually never shown this picture before. I decided to do it tonight. You know, it's Saturday night. Go a little wild, and why not? Yeah, this a lot of us. We talk about our first time we gave polio drops. This was actually in Lahore, Pakistan. And this little kid had kicked me in the belly about 6 times. And, while it was a big target, it still wasn't that comfortable. And, Carol was there. She's a little off to the right here. And, it's just for those of you that have been on a immunization activity, if you haven't done it, it is life-changing, as Jane and Jean said. But that was quite a day. We mentioned the different partners. I think you're all aware of it. Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance is the newest one. They're actually paying for all of the injectable or inactivated polio virus. So what have we accomplished? And that's what I want to cover in the few minutes I have tonight. What we've accomplished and how we're going to get this done, because I think that's what Rotarians ask. To me, what really hits my heart, is we now have 19 million people walking on this earth who otherwise would have been paralyzed or have died if it wasn't for this work that Rotary started. 650,000 people a year are being added. These estimates come from Rebecca Martin's Centers for Disease Control. They're not ones that Rotary has made up. They're ones that the partnership has all agreed to. We've immunized, since Rotary began this, all of us, 3 billion children. Last year alone, 430 million children in 40 countries. People wonder where the money goes. 1.2 billion doses of oral vaccine. And thankfully, we've gone 4 years without a case of wild polio virus outside of Pakistan and Afghanistan. For those of you with trivia, other than Nigeria, the other last country was 6 years ago in Somalia. We've also helped to respond to both Ebola, and we've been responding over as well with COVID-19. We get a lot of questions about circulating vaccine-derived polioviruses and where we stand. And this little page, and I did it up today. It's not the fanciest graphic, and probably too many words on a page, but it is what it is. We've had 120. First of all, on the far right, wild poliovirus, we've had 121 cases, all in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Last year at the same time, we had 85, so not the best. But the real concern, well, they're both concerns, but a real concern is we're also getting something called circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus. And as you can see, you see the definition of what they are. And these really happen because of low immunization rates. They're not getting it from the same ways, the risk, it's the same risk factors, but it's basically low immunization rates. To do both of them, we need to stop transmission. So how are we going to stop it? There's a new polio vaccine, mostly funded by the Gates Foundation. The early use license, the EUL, we hear that for some of the COVID vaccines as well. We expect to get that very, very soon. We're also using IPV more, and that's being funded by Gavi. So, it's a concern. It's in a lot of different countries. It's spread, but we've shown we can get rid of it in Syria and other places. But 424 cases is not good. Rotary's goal, though, remains the eradication of the wild polio virus. So, what do we still need to do? A question I get often, well, we just eradicated polio in Africa. We did the wild polio virus, but, we still have a whole part of the world called the Eastern Mediterranean region of the World Health Organization. There's 21 member states of the World Health Organization there, including Palestine. The population's 583 million. And these are the countries. And, sometimes people say, well, it's still gone in Africa. But if you look at this closely, a few of these countries are actually in Northern Africa, Tunisia, Morocco, a few of the others. So, but we've got the Afro section done, great celebration. But, we're not done until we get the certification that polio virus has been accomplished in all these countries. I was fortunate a couple of years ago, a year ago, actually, to meet the people from Iran who operate the program there, and they're just, they're doing a good job there, and as they are in all of these countries. So what do we need to do to finish the job? Rebecca mentioned the need to advocate to governments of the world, and that's not only for the money, but back in February, before COVID hit, Holger Kanak, who was this year's president of Rotary, Ravi Rabindran, who was the foundation chair, Aziz Memon, who was mentioned, and I visited the prime minister of Pakistan, and really gave them the message, you got to get your country's work done to get this done. We met with the Army General as well. That's important. The fundraising, thank you all for your generosity. The goal remains 50 million. We're still getting the Gates match. It's wonderful. But the next bullet, and Rebecca mentioned this, the only way we get this done is to convince everyone to get the drops into the mouths. And that's where we don't get done, is when it's not their program, their ownership in each and every community. And and it's the mothers, the fathers, but it's also groups like the Taliban And, that is, we've had some places in Afghanistan we haven't had accessible. We need to convince the Taliban that this is just as important for them as for others. Rotary doesn't talk to the Taliban, but there are people who do. There are people in our partnership who do. So, when you asked the question earlier about why we're not done, this to me is the biggest bullet. It's the local community, the local street, the local village, where it's got to be their program, and we need to get it done. Finally, we do need to stop these vaccine-derived cases. 424 we mentioned, it's a challenge, but they're working at it. It's costing us a lot of money of Rotary donations. We need to continue to get the word out on World Polio Day as well. And if you look at these couple of websites, you can see a lot of information. There's a toolkit as well at the endpolionow.org that there's a link to, and the other website there just has tons and tons of information that would help you as you make comments on polio and otherwise. The statement on the left of the screen: we will eradicate polio. Rotarians have been passionate, determined. Our partners have as well, and there's no turning back. We've gone from the 350,000 cases a year down to the just under 130 so far this year. Rotarians aren't going to disappoint the children of the world. We're going to get this done, and with your continued support and efforts, we are going to get it done. So I really want to thank all of you. My club continues to have the polio cans on the tables, when we have dinner. Now we do them virtually. But it's 30 years of work. But I think of those 19 million people walking on this earth. I think of all those Rotarians, people like James Lewis, who I was in Calcutta, and he introduced me to that little girl in India, who was the very last person in India 10 years ago now to get polio. We've had so many achievements. Let's get this done. Let's work together. Let's fulfill the dream. Thank you very much, Lane.
And thank you, Mike. And Mike, you brought up the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I'm wondering, is there a time limit to that? How many years will the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation be donating to polio? And maybe dovetailing on that, if you can explain to some of our viewers who are not as familiar with giving options, maybe you can explain how DDF and the cash match work.
I'd be happy to. For any cash donations to Polio Plus, they are matched 2-to-1 by the Gates Foundation. So if someone gives $100, the Gates Foundation gives Rotary $200, and then we allocate those monies, the trustees of the Rotary Foundation, Brenda and others, to the World Health Organization and to UNICEF. We pay for vaccines, we pay for all the vaccinators, all those different things, publicity. So, and that money adds up. It's about $35 million a year before the match, provided we all give. We also have districts that can give something called district designated funds. Those are matched by something called the World Fund, 1-to-1, 2-to-1 match, 1-to-1 match. And then that money is matched by the Gates Foundation 2-to-1. So, if for every $1,000 the districts give, it becomes $6,000. And all that adds up to a goal of 50 million. And then if that all comes in, there's $100 million that the Gates matches, and it's $150 million that goes to polio. And that's what provides, that over 1 billion doses that happens. So it's just amazing what the dollars can accomplish.
And is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on board in perpetuity? Is there an end on that, or do we know?
Thank you for reminding me. I didn't answer that part of the question. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, wonderful folks. They've just committed to 3 years agreement. So, all the monies this year, the next 2 years, all are being matched, 2-to-1. And the Gates Foundation has now given Rotary over $1 billion. It's just, amazing. But, we even spend it on ourselves. All of that money has gone toward immunizations, in the 47 countries that were just declared free of the wild polio virus in Africa. as well as the Eastern Mediterranean region and other regions as well.
Great. Thanks for that clarification. Well, as was mentioned earlier, we still are experiencing active cases in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And to provide us with some insight from the front lines of the response is Aziz Minan. Aziz has been a leader of Rotary's polio eradication efforts in Pakistan. He's a member of the International Polio Plus Committee and the National Polio Plus Chair for Pakistan, and has been for the last 8 or so years. He works very closely with partners and stakeholders, including the World Health Organization, UNICEF, government officials, religious scholars, celebrities, corporate executives from multinational companies, and Rotarians in his quest to eliminate polio from Pakistan. And now I'd like to turn it over to Aziz to share some words with us.
Greetings. I want to congratulate District 5150 for organizing the Polio Summit. Unfortunately, due to the time constraints, I could not join you, but my best wishes are with your district, the organizers, and the Rotarians. Polio has been the mission, has been our project for almost 43 years, and we have come a long way. With Nigeria now out of the endemic list, we are left with Pakistan and Afghanistan. The campaigns were held up due to COVID for 6 months. Last year also in Pakistan, we had a fake news on 22nd of April, which disrupted the campaign for 5-6 months. Not a single child died, but 300,000 landed up in hospitals in 2 hours. We caught up with that, and once we were moving forward, COVID-19 came in our way. 6 months again were lost. In July, we resumed a very small campaign by targeting the derived cases and the case response. That was built up in August, and in September, we went ahead to do a full-fledged NID to cover and target 40 million children across Pakistan. I'm glad to share with you that whatever reports have come of these campaigns show very positive coverage. Even in South Waziristan, we were able to do door-to-door campaign for the first time with the help of Pakistan Army. I was yesterday in Bourbon, and there was a review meeting, operation review meeting. This was organized by CDC, and it had all the zonal coordinators, our partners, WHO, UNICEF, and all the stakeholders. I had a pleasure to sit with them and discuss, and I had a pleasure to listen to them as to what they feel has happened and how they would go forward to stop transmission in 2021. 2 weeks back, Pakistan Army, our Commander-in-Chief, General Qamar Bajwa, made a commitment that they will ensure that in 2021 we will be able to stop the transmission. We have a roadmap now for October, November, December. We will be having NIDs all along. In November, December, we will be using the trivalent, which will be targeting the wild polio cases and the derived cases. And we hope that we will have positive results. The reservoirs of Karachi and Peshawar are behaving very well. In the cases which have happened in Sindh in this year, only one case has been reported in Karachi, and same is the case in Peshawar, whereas KP cases have come up from Waziristan, which is definitely an area to be looked into. In Sindh, we have targeted the northern Sindh, southern Punjab, which becomes a central block. Yesterday, I had a one-hour meeting with the team leaders of UNICEF and WHO, and we agreed that there should be a central Pakistan block, and WHO would soon designate one person to look into the central Pakistan, because this is a vulnerable area. I can see all around full commitment. Now, the commitment needs to be converted into action, and we hope that with the help of the government, with the support of the partners, WHO, UNICEF, CDC, Bill Melinda Gates Foundation, all of them, and with the total commitment of Rotarians. We have now involved the Rotractors also. They are running side by side with the Rotarians. So we hope that soon we will be able to give you the good news. Thank you for listening to me. Bye-bye.
And thank you, Aziz, for your great comments. Unfortunately, he wanted to be here and actually was planning to participate in this panel, but it's 4 a.m. over in Pakistan, and I can understand wanting to maybe get some sleep given all the hard work that he's been investing. Well, we have a few minutes left for our panel, and we've had some great questions come in, so I do want to try to get to a couple of more before we wrap up. This one might be best for Dr. Rebecca. How has our polio eradication efforts impacted global health, such as Ebola, yellow fever, dengue fever, and now COVID-19?
Thank you, Laney. And I just put something in the chat because I wasn't sure if we would have time to get to that, to Chris Gallagher's question as well on that. But polio has taught us many lessons, but also brought some of the best practices to bear on global health efforts. We've heard Carol and Mike and Aziz all talk tonight about community engagement and how to engage communities, how to address community needs. This has been one thing that is important, because you may have the best vaccine, you may have the best treatment, but if you don't have people who are ready to receive it, who see the value, who trust you to take the drug, to be vaccinated, you will not be able to stop any outbreaks. And so this is a critical piece that has been helping COVID-19, but also we've seen this with Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo and also in Western Africa. The science that we've had to do in responding to outbreaks of polio as well, real-time science and outbreaks, has also been now used, for example, for yellow fever in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where understanding that we could use not a full dose of vaccine because there was not enough yellow fever vaccine, but what we had done using a partial dose of a vaccine with polio could be done with yellow fever. So transferring the science and knowledge. And with COVID-19 as well, the frontline workers, the thousands and thousands of frontline workers around the world are delivering messages in communities about how to protect yourself from SARS-CoV-2. They're telling people to wear masks, physically distance, making sure that people know what to do, wash hands. These are important things that are being transferred into COVID-19. And the backbone of polio eradication, the surveillance and laboratory, are also now being used for responding to COVID-19 and the pandemic. And the systems, the people, the laboratories are all being engaged. It's a true testimony. And I think as well, we also can now use the pandemic, as I said earlier, to help us get that final energy and emergency feeling to make sure that we can also eradicate polio. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that summary. And I do want to thank everyone that submitted questions. I think we got to most. There are a few that were either put in the main chat or sent privately to me that we unfortunately don't have time for, but we promise you we will get answers to those questions and we will email them out to all of the participants here this evening so you do not miss out on any additional information that would have been shared in those answers to those questions. So before we wrap up, I'm very excited to share that we have a surprise guest joining us this evening. She hails from the Rotary Club of Windsor Roseland in Ontario, Canada. A Rotarian since 1997, she is also a current Rotary Foundation trustee and has served as Rotary International Vice President, among a suite of other roles across the international, zone, and district levels. Her wisdom and insight have fueled Rotary's rebranding and strategic planning efforts, and she recently led the successful Rotary Response Telethon, which raised critical funds for COVID-19 relief and was viewed by more than 65,000 people. She is the co-chair of the End Polio Now Countdown to History campaign committee, which aims to raise $150 million for polio eradication efforts. And if that's not an example of her tenacity and ambition, I'm not sure what is. And she very recently broke through a glass ceiling of sorts for many Rotarians. Through her hard work and many Rotary achievements, she earned the nomination of her peers to be the first woman to lead the Rotary organization at an international level. Please join me in giving a big Rotary welcome to Rotary International's president for 2022-2023, Jennifer E. Jones.
Thank you, Lane. I think I have my camera's on. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Lane, for the lovely introduction, and how incredible to be able to hear from everyone tonight. Certainly as we embark on the beginning of, we know World Polio Day, but I think that we're all starting to consider this to be World Polio Month. A comment that I want to make, and first and foremost, I want to commend Governor Mary for putting this together and having us all collect to be able to talk about this very critical and important issue. But one of the things that, I don't know if you were thinking this while you were watching, but I certainly was, is that we had the incredible privilege tonight to hear from the most preeminent experts on polio eradication, quite candidly, in the world. And, when you think of, Dr. Rebecca, Dr. Carol, Mike, Aziz, it is stupendous to understand the breadth and depth of what it is that they're able to share with us. And so what a privilege. And I hope that you all, knowing that we're spending a Saturday night together, I hope you all know that this really truly was one of the greatest treats to be able to hear from the best and the brightest about what it is that we're doing to cross the finish line, to get us home, to make sure that we eradicate this disease. And we are going to do it. We're in it to win it, and we will keep our foot on the pedal until we get across the finish line. So thank you to all of you for what it is that you're doing. Tonight, I'm the last one here, and one of the things, I know that I'm going to say this on behalf of Trustee Brenda, who is on the call with us as well, is that there's some thank yous, some major thank yous for people in your area who have stepped up in a big way, not only with the Polio Plus Society, but now the $2 million challenge. And so I just kind of want to give like a big shout out to some people in your district right now. And the first and foremost is your Polio Plus Chair, Russ, and polio survivor as well, which is incredible, for your leadership, for your generosity, and for supporting the $2 million challenge. And while I still have my trustee hat on, because I have that on for a little bit longer, I do want to say thank you. Thank you very much for what it is that you're doing, for you and Mary. Not only donating $5,000 to the challenge, but also for stepping up to becoming Arch Clump Society members this year, which is an incredible an incredible gift to the world. Past District Governor Brian McLaren, I want to thank you and your family for supporting the challenge with your gift through your family foundation, the Rose C. Stone Foundation, and a gift of $50,000, which is incredibly an incredible commitment. So thank you to you. To Mike and Giti Hebel, I want to thank you very much for being Arch Clump Society members and Legacy Society members level 2, which means that they have given and provided support for in excess of $10 million in their legacy portfolio, and also for your gift of $5,000 towards the district polio challenge. We're so grateful for the incredible kindness and for you understanding that this is a place to put your money where you know that it's going to be stewarded in the absolute best possible way, and that we will ensure that your funds going to make sure that, you know, whether it's polio or anything else, that we're going to make sure it works so hard, and we'll be good stewards of the funds that you're putting in our hands. And finally, to my very good friend, Jane Hulbert and Jean Duffy. Jane invited me to be on the call tonight, and I was originally going to do a video that was kind of what we had discussed, until I really sat back and thought about it, and I thought, no, I need to be here to say thank you. Thank you in person to all of you that are on the call, because you know, for Jane and Jean, they've given a very generous donation as well of $15,000 to your challenge. And they've also stepped up as AKS Arch Clump Society members and legacy members. And so, you know, just it's so important to make sure that we say thank you. And tonight, that's my job here, just to simply say thank you to all of the people that I've just mentioned. But to those of you on the call, you're here on a Saturday night, or well, it's night here in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It's 9 o'clock, so 6 o'clock your time, entering into evening for you. But we're here together because it's important to us to hear the best, the latest, the greatest news, and to say thank you to the people who are making sure that we understand how we cross the finish line and how we fund doing it. And so it's not just, like I said, the folks that I've mentioned, but each and every one of you who was on this call, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment. And thank you for being part of our organization, because it's because of you that we're going to get this job done. And we will get it done. Believe you me, we will get this job done. So anyway, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And Lane, let me turn it back over to you for the rest of the conclusion of the program.
Well, thank you, President nominee Jennifer. I assure you, if this call wasn't on group mute, it would be standing ovation. And we're just so thankful to you for finding time to join us live and in person to not only provide those inspirational remarks, but the personal thank you, which is appreciative. And we're very appreciative of you and all that you are continuing to do to inspire all of us as a collective, huge global family to cross that finish line. So thank you again.
Thanks.
And on the theme of thank yous, I also want to extend a thank you to our fabulous panelists who joined us this evening, Dr. Rebecca Martin, Dr. Carol Panda, Mike McGovern, and also virtually Aziz Minan. Really appreciate the wonderful remarks and insight that you brought to our community here virtually. I think you've strengthened our awareness and our commitment to ending polio. And I want to thank all of you for hanging with us, taking the time to join us, as Jennifer said, on a Saturday night, for good heavens. I hope you leave inspired. Spread the word. The polio eradication campaign needs your help to reach every child. And as we heard Mike mention, thanks to the Bill and Melinda Gates campaign, Gates Foundation, your contribution will be tripled. So please help us keep our promise to the children for a polio-free world. There's a few ways in which you can do that. There is, let's see, I think there's another slide coming maybe. Well, if you look in the chat, there is a URL. Thank you, Cynthia Berry, for providing us with a donation URL where you can give directly to District Rotary 5150's Raise for Rotary Foundation fundraiser. I also want to remind you of the opportunity to join the Polio Society. You can contact Steve Wright by email, and he too has dropped his email address in the chat. And we also will be circulating that information for those of you that are joining by phone. And don't forget the Rotary Road Rally on October 24th. I see Chrissy Kirby has also dropped a link to that registration page in the chat. Many ways for you to join forces with your fellow Rotarians, your brothers and sisters, to come together and work to end polio now. And I would be remiss if I didn't take a quick moment to thank the behind the scenes team that made this possible, a small but mighty team. Of course, our chair, past District Governor Jane Holbert, as well as Bob Jacobson, Sylvia Berry, and James Sewell. We really appreciate the all hands on deck approach and really made this event come together quite nicely. So big virtual round of applause for them as well. So with that, I want to say a final thank you for joining us. You are more than welcome to stick around and chat with people that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to see in a while, because we have been functioning in a virtual environment for several months now.